I'm feeling it. I am feeling it.
So, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who scored only 4 Rouges all last season, Jack.
The Stampeders are over the hump and back on top. 2018 Grey Cup champions.
Yeah, man, I eat chalk for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Here's a 50 to the 40, down near the 20. He's gonna score! Touchdown! A chance to win! Will they get it? Yes, they will! Unbelievable! Holy goodness!
Whew! Muy caliente.
We are live with the 6th episode of the Red, the White, and the Rouge podcast. My name is John. You guys can find me on Twitter at JohnHewish_. As always, I am joined by my man Rob at Rob McSports on Twitter. How's it going, man?
Going okay.
Just okay.
This is a nice day out. Did some work. It was good. How about you? Are you ecstatic?
Oh, I'm hyped for this week, man. After last week, there's not as many options this week is the thing, but I think there's some a lot more solid directions that you can go where you don't have to kind of be as worried about a player's performance.
Chalky.
But yeah, I guess shit, Lonus, hit the damn rewind music.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. Mm-hmm.
So I guess we're going to start rewinding back to week 4 real quick and see what went wrong. And let's start with the first quarter of the first game of the slate where Chalk Sean Thomas Erlington went down. I think you kind of got to pin that one on Mazzoli, right? That was a suicide pass.
Yeah, it was not a good play, and he's on the 6-game injured list now as well, which is obviously more or less the worst case scenario. And you don't like to see knee injuries, especially for running backs in particular.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the cleanest hit in the world, but I mean, some of that.
I didn't have any issue with that.
Yeah,
I just thought it was really unfortunate.
It was really unfortunate for some of us. For others, not so much.
Yeah.
William Stanback. He went off for 200 yards last week. 200. We had him in the Jules lineup. If you guys played the lineup straight from the Jules, that was good enough for first in the bootleg last week. Unfortunately, I took third. Not quite enough for first. I was 4 points short, and man, I'm tilted about that. I guess I'll look back just directly at the mistake I made, which was seeing that Terry Williams was starting over Kadeem Carey, and I pivoted to Moses Madu. Oh, God. 18 yards. That's it. Didn't catch a pass. Carried the ball 6 times. And the reasoning behind my pivot was, here's the hindsight, actually, because the whole point of this is looking at our 2020 hindsight. Should have just left Kadeem Carey in, because the reason why they listed Terry Williams as the starter was just because he knew more of the playbook. Carey was always going to be getting the red zone carries, and obviously, for anyone who watched the game, you saw that Carey just got more and more involved in the offense as the game went on. So I would be shocked if they didn't put him ahead of Terry Williams this week, but if they don't, still going to get the majority of the carries because, again, the only reason why he wasn't listed starting was just because of probably not fully knowing the playbook. Whereas, nobody was thinking that Terry Williams...
Yeah.
Well, apparently, I don't even know, man. It's hard, it's hard to kind of look back at what you were thinking objectively when, obviously, the alternative would have turned out much better.
Yeah, and to add on with Carey, watching him last week, you can just watching him in limited carries, you could tell he was a class above most CFL players. He was dominant. He was breaking tackles and making moves that just kind of blew my mind.
Like an NFL player would look in the CFL.
Exactly. Sometimes you can watch these guys come in, and normally they don't last in the CFL for very long, but sometimes when they come in, you're just like, holy crap. He reminded me a bit of Corey Sheets a few years ago with Saskatchewan, who did basically the same thing. And he, I think he's still with the Oakland organization. But, just immediately an elite running back in the CFL.
Speaking of elite, Lamar Durant's caught a touchdown in every single game so far this season. Without Brian Burnham around...
Yeah.
BC won on a walk-off Rouge. Now, I was reading something...
Our namesake.
I know, right?
That's what the Rouge is,
Brand.
just so everyone knows.
If you didn't know, you saw the walk-off Rouge last Saturday. No, that's what that is. But apparently Toronto's end zones are like 17 yards instead of 20, which is, if that's true, what literally made the difference. Because Rainey stepped out, I think he was like 1 or 2 steps out, but he definitely wasn't more than 3 yards out of bounds. So
No, he definitely wasn't.
that could have been awkward for PC.
That's because of the soccer. Oh, that would have been awful. But that's because BMO Field is a soccer-specific stadium. It was brought in specifically for Toronto FC.
Right. That's
and the Argonauts use it.
Yeah.
But that's why it's not meant for football. And the idea of a soccer-specific stadium in Canada does make me kind of sick. But regardless, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's. Anyway, anything else you want to mention from? I mean, last week was just so shitty. Like, just in general. Like,
Yeah.
I was like near the top of most of my contests, or my cash line was barely. I didn't think it was going to hold. Honestly, I had like a couple guys left, and I was like, oh man, this last game is just going to knock me out of everything. Nothing happened really except for Kadeem Carey in the last game and the Stampeders D, who nobody had. So that.
Oh well, you're forgetting the complete breakdown of Cody Fajardo. That was kind of big.
I guess we do have to talk about that. I guess I kind of gotta. Honestly, he those were like mistakes that you would expect a young quarterback to make.
Absolutely,
Like,
absolutely.
It was, he made poor decisions on quite a few passes, and to think without that rushing touchdown, he would have put up less than 4 fantasy points. It's just disgusting. But
I didn't do that math. Oh God.
Yeah, like
that's horrible.
It would have been, and even then, 9 isn't exactly great either. But it was definitely interesting to see him kind of look, severely regress after the first 2 weeks he had as a starter. But I think he'll bounce back, and I still think he's the guy of the future for Saskatchewan, and Calero still shouldn't have a starting job when he gets back. If I'm being frank, like that's just what it is.
We'll see how he plays before Caleros comes back. I'm still split on it because I think there's something to be said for a young quarterback coming out really hot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think Fajardo has shown that he definitely deserves another look. I think the next 2 games or so are really going to tell us a whole lot, which is obviously very obvious as the sample size is very small thus far. But once we see a few more games, I'll make my decision up about Fajardo.
As for the Arbuckle McLeod Bethel Thompson bet, I mean,
oh yeah,
if you want to take a 1 decimal point win, like go for it. It was like not 1/100th, 1/10th. So Arbuckle basically outscored McLeod Bethel Thompson by a rushing yard.
Nice.
That's literally about as close as it can be. So
that is as close as it can be, but I'll just add that I think it's a little bit more impressive for Arbuckle as he hasn't started a football game. I believe they said on the broadcast since 2015
in college.
He hadn't started a football game since then, and I thought he was very good. Like very good might be a stretch. I thought he was solid.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially for a guy who hadn't played in 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's going to be a quarterback controversy when Bo Levi Mitchell's healthy, but he'll get them through the next 6 weeks. So
there should be a controversy about him wearing the do-rag when he's not playing. Come on.
Yeah.
And also he should have an intervention about avoiding sunscreen. He looks like he's going to look like a walrus by the time he's 50. He's so sunburned.
Yeah, just constantly too. It's impressive how he maintains that sunburn.
No, I've seen him in November in Calgary. What are you doing? Some people use tanner. He just uses sunburn. Anyway, we should probably get into the first game of this week, which is a game I will be in attendance of, the Edmonton at BC game. Just a note that none of the lines for these games are out yet, so we don't have the odds for you, unfortunately.
Check again. Like, I've been checking all day. I'm like, surely
at
some point today the lines have to be released, right? Like, why is Vegas
You would
waiting?
think so.
The game's on Thursday. They know that, right?
Probably not.
Honestly, usually they come out on Monday.
We've talked about the Betway and DraftKings looking at CFL. I'm pretty sure they have more people on Gaelic sports.
Probably with where they're based. Yeah, no, still no Lions available for any of the CFL
I'm looking.
games. That's wild.
Nope.
That's wild. All right, quarterback situation in BC this Friday. Trevor Harris is 10,400. Mike Riley is 10,200. This is not a new take that BC signed the best player in the league and put a bunch of Swiss cheese O-line around him. Like Toronto.
I don't actually agree with that.
2 or 3. No, like even like on the first fucking series, you hear, "Oh yeah, there's Toronto's first sack of the season," and it just kept going all game where he was under pressure. He was either getting sacked or he had to rush. I don't know how many times off the top of my head, but Mike Riley doesn't usually rush unless it's from the 1-yard line.
No, I agree. I did hear one of the BC Lions analysts on the radio this week talk about how Toronto hadn't actually been rushing that hard thus far this season. And so that the Lions probably, when they set their game plan and stuff, they didn't plan for that. So not to say that's an excuse. Obviously, the O-linemen have to maintain their blocks regardless. But I think they were slightly surprised by how hard Toronto rushed the passer.
Yeah, it's definitely a way to play devil's advocate for it. But if Edmonton
it wasn't good.
No, it wasn't. If Edmonton are favorites, which they should be, Trevor Harris at 10,400. Is there any reason not to play him?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm on the same page with that. And
yeah, there's no reason not to.
It's so weird how well he does as an underdog versus as a favorite. It's so odd, but like it makes it easier to decide. So yeah, Edmonton should be favored here. Running backs, John White, revenge game, 7,800. Brian Burnham's probably going to be back. So do you think we see him as... No, yeah, Brian Burnham's almost certainly going to be back. So do we see him as involved with this offense or even close to as involved, honestly? Because I think it's hard to see him, carrying the ball that many times again.
I don't think he'll carry the ball as much, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's still getting significant touches via the pass game. I think there's better running backs available this week, but he's an okay player at the price. I don't know. I just really worry about John White's consistency. And obviously he's had 2 really good weeks, but he started off with 2 terrible weeks. So, and as well, BC itself has been a complete ball of no consistency whatsoever. So I don't hate John White as a play this week, but it does worry me a bit. It's a little bit of a risky play.
I worry about John White too. Not even just his price. I just worry about him.
I just worry. Is he okay? Yeah.
CJ Gable, 8,700. Man, that is a chunky price tag for a guy that has been basically regressing recently, but the price went up. BC hasn't been amazing against the run, but 8,700. I mean, we had this decision last week for some people. Do you play John White or William Stanback? Not that John White did poorly, but William Stanback kind of did something amazing. So not saying that that's going to happen again this week, but, I'll just ask you now, Gable or Stanback at 8,700?
I like Gable, mostly because I like how Edmonton does get him super involved with the pass game. Like they run, as I've mentioned before, they run a lot of screens. They do a lot of quick outs. Because Trevor Harris is so bad against pass rushers. So I have a feeling that he will get the ball an awful lot. I'm not as I would say Stanback is definitely a better, first down, second down runner. But I'd say Gable is potentially more versatile, especially within the context of this Edmonton offense.
All right. I'm on the Stanback side of that, but I'll wait till we get to that game to talk about why that is.
Go for it.
Solid wideout options for Trevor Harris. Which one is your favorite of basically the 3 that are seriously in play here?
I like Ellingson the most because I think it's the safest. Obviously, he's the most expensive, but I've found with playing Kenny Stafford and Ricky Collins, that very rarely do you see both of them having good games. You'll see Ricky Collins having a good game or Kenny Stafford. And that's problematic for the reason that, it's a 50-50 at that point. And I don't want to play a 50-50 and pick wrong because then I look like an idiot.
So Ricky Collins Jr., obviously not last week, but the week before that, was targeted 15 times.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I'm definitely, I love him at his price, honestly, at $6,000. He's
very
cheaper.
good at his price.
Yep. So honestly, I might play him and Ellingson together just because I think they both have solid floors. If I'm pairing them with Harris, I mean, that's really going all in on Edmonton, but I'm kind of ready to do that at this point. Again, depending on how that line looks. Lamar Durant is the only piece of consistency in this BC offense. Does he score a 5th week in a row?
I don't see why he wouldn't. Deron Carter has, he's been the epitome of average. He definitely hasn't shown to be elite so far this year. He's been very medium, and Lamar Durant has just kind of filled that void. What we thought Deron Carter would be, Lamar Durant has been so far. So at 16, it's cheaper.
He's not going to need to worry about Rashawn Simoniz taking targets from him. That's for sure. Oh
my God. Three drops. They actually mentioned it on sports radio, and really, you got to feel for Rashawn Simoniz.
He was getting ripped apart on Twitter. He was getting absolutely torched.
Honestly, he deserved it. He was terrible, absolutely terrible.
Hey man, he heard the footsteps coming. He heard the footsteps.
Yeah, right in the hands more than once.
Yeah,
I understand dropping a pass when you've made a crazy catch, and you can't quite pull it in. There was nothing challenging about any of the catches he dropped.
He didn't get taught the catch tuck.
No, you need the catch tuck. Just to add on to that BC receiving, Javon Katoy once again became a bigger part of the Lions offense last week. This is the $3,000 guy I mentioned last week, and he keeps putting up, and he's getting more and more involved with the offense each week, and he's a fucking monster. He's built like Kawhi Leonard, and he's huge, and once he really gets engaged, I think he's gonna be a monster.
Agreed. Let's move into Toronto at Winnipeg. No interest in any of the quarterbacks here with Matt Nichols back at practice, unfortunately. Some of us were rooting for Chris Streveler to start. Some of us were.
It feels weird saying unfortunately to someone being healthy, but yeah, no, totally. It sucks.
I mean, I never like to cheer when someone gets injured. So when he gets injured, I just say I'm cheering for Streveler's opportunity. It's the blanket I put over it. Running backs, though. Andrew Harris at 9,200. He is one of the best plays on the board this week against this Toronto run defense, who obviously struggled last week against John White. And in general, I don't think this front seven is going to be able to slow down Andrew Harris, especially at home at Investors Group Field. James Wilder Jr.'s price only went up 200 after a really solid game last week. He almost hit 4x value. I think he had 22 fantasy points because of how involved McLeod Bethel Thompson had him in the passing game. Granted, because it was pretty rainy in Toronto. I mean, there wasn't too many deep ball shots, but I still think we see Wilder involved in the pass game here at 6,800. So nice floor with the point per reception scoring.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Nothing to add.
Any wideouts here worth looking at for you? It's tough.
Well, you wrote down Levi Noel, which I agree is probably the only play here. If Chris Streveler was playing, I would have gone back to Wolotarski because they have that college roommate narrative going on.
Oh yeah.
But unfortunately, since Streveler is not playing, we cannot play the narrative. I'd also like to point out the hilarity of Chris Streveler being worth more fantasy costing more on DraftKings than Matt Nichols. That shows as the backup, he's worth more. If that is not the biggest game manager thing I have ever seen in my whole life, nothing is.
Well, I think the one guy at DraftKings running CFL was on the ball this week when he thought, maybe Chris Streveler starts for Matt Nichols. So he's on top of things this week, kind of. Not really. We have
something to admit, guys. We do the scoring. We do the pricing.
It's just us. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Levi Noel is fine at 5,400. I mean, that's not enough of a price bump to scare me off him with honestly just the consistency he's shown at that price. Like, there's no other receivers that I can be like, okay, yes, he is definitely going into double digits under 5,500 other than him. But the defense special teams play on the week is it's Winnipeg. Winnipeg will likely be the chalk against McLeod, Bethel, Thompson, so no need to get too cute on defense. You can. We'll talk about some other options, but Winnipeg will be the most popular one. I would be shocked if it was anyone other than Winnipeg, honestly.
And a middling price.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So they're not the most expensive on the board, so that's nice.
I'm glad they didn't jack them up to over 5K, which is what they seem to do against like Toronto and Montreal. Ugh.
That's normally what they do. I was expecting that, but they did not.
Good. Quarterbacks in Montreal and Ottawa. No total again for this game. It's just so frustrating. Dominique Davis is down to 8,800 after his woeful performance last week. Didn't get to rush the ball very much against Winnipeg because Winnipeg's front seven is pretty good. Montreal's front seven not as good as Winnipeg, so I think we see Dominique Davis running the ball more here. Obviously a much easier matchup in regards to who he's facing in the Montreal secondary as well, so I'm fine to go back to Davis, honestly. I mean, I know he burned a decent number of people. I saw quite a few people for some reason with him in their lineup, but I'm fine to go back to him here. Any Vernon Adams Jr. action for you, or are you all about Dominique Davis in this one?
I like Dominique Davis in this one. Vernon Adams is an okay buy low candidate, but I don't see Ottawa beating Montreal. I don't see Montreal doing a whole lot against Ottawa. I know Ottawa's defense has been on and off, but if there's a star in this game that Montreal needs to rely on, it's Stanback, not Vernon Adams.
Well, I guess we've arrived at the William Stanback part of the show.
Yes.
So why I take him over Gable here is kind of what I've been preaching since week one, and it's because this Montreal offense basically runs through this guy. You know, nobody else is taking carries away from him. You know, Ryder Stone's getting like 2 carries a game. Jeremiah Johnson is just, nowhere to be found. And
yeah, I was about to say, is he missing? Like, is
he okay?
Gone out yet? Yeah, exactly.
Stephon Logan gets like 1 carry a game, so it's just the sheer volume of touches he will get in the offense. For you guys who play NBA DFS, it's like usage. You're gonna play a guy maybe on a worse team who's getting a lot of touches, maybe versus a guy on a better team who's in a good matchup, but the touches just aren't as guaranteed. So Stanback's floor here, honestly, I still think he's around 15, 16 points. I'm not saying he snaps for 45 again, but he should be around 20. I think he finds the end zone here against Ottawa, and I really like him. Moses Madu, though. Ooh, God, am I going back here? I might have to.
Yeah, I don't hate going back.
The matchup's just so much better. Like, I literally needed this asshole to get like 5 points last week. I don't think that was asking a lot. Apparently it was. But after he burned me last week, I'm honestly tempted to go back there. Just because, like we were talking about before the show, there's not a ton of guys worth paying up for on this slate, and it's tough to kind of fill that salary. So it's not that I'm just playing him for the sake of filling salary. Obviously, I do think it's a good matchup for him against Montreal. So I can see myself going back here probably, and I can also just as equally imagine myself, tweeting angry things about it Saturday night.
Yeah, I think last week is just a blip in what has been a really solid resume thus far. I think 5,000 is a woeful underpriced just based on how he's done so far this year. However, I do understand concerns surrounding him, and I was burned by him last week too, so I wasn't happy.
He was somehow in the $10,000 winning lineup of the Maple Leaf, though, because that person just didn't play Sean Thomas.
Yeah, but that's because that's...
Yeah.
I was about to say that's because he didn't play Sean Thomas.
I mean, the winning lineup in the bootleg had Sean Thomas, so go figure. I don't know. Obviously, at different contest sizes, but you guys already know about all that stuff. RJ Harris or Dominique Rhymes. These are like nobody on Montreal worth talking about, in my opinion. But with the $800 difference, I think Dominique Grimes is the guy you really got to like more here over RJ Harris. Am I kind of off base with that, or you on the same page?
No, I think you're right about that. I actually like Harris more, but I don't like him more at that price.
Mm-hmm. Could go with the Ottawa D here as well. I always think they have some solid upside. I mean, their only touchdown of the game last week was a defensive special teams touchdown, so I could definitely see them forcing a couple turnovers here and even potentially scoring on special teams. Last game of the weekend is Calgary at Hamilton. Does Calgary's defense... where did they regress to? Because they went from horrible the first 2 weeks of the season to what you'd expect from Calgary's defense last week. I don't think they maintained that, but the question is just how, did they go back to where they were the first 2 weeks, or do you think they go somewhere in the middle?
Well, this is what we were talking about right before we started recording, and I think it's a really, really good question. I think there must be some sort of middle here, because they obviously don't have the talent they had last year. However, it's clear that their defense is kind of coming together and learning how to read off each other a lot better. And that's the important aspect of it. I think there's a middle ground here.
Yeah, I definitely can't see Mazzoli making the same mistakes that Fajardo did last week, so I'm not expecting them to go for 21 fantasy points again. Ugh. So I think there's some merit to playing Mazzoli just to be different, because like I listed my favorite quarterbacks last week, and I think I had like four who I liked, and I listed Riley, Mazzoli, Fajardo, and Davis. This week for me, frankly, my quarterback pool so far is consisting of Trevor Harris, Dominique Davis, maybe Mike Riley as a third option, and if I'm trying to be different, I play Mazzoli, because he still has that ceiling. But I wish his price would have dropped more. Honestly, if his price dropped more, I think he would have been more in play. But obviously that's not the case. I don't know, like why is Anthony Coombs not higher priced, given that it was pretty clear that Sean Thomas Erlington wasn't going to be back before next week?
I think the reason is because he was hurt most of last year. And he just, once again, I think this is an example of one guy running the CFL pricing. He was really good last week and has a solid resume of previous years being good. It's just he didn't really play last year, and we know how much reputation plays a role. I.e., Brad Snopoli is still at 7,800. Yeah. So I think it's the reputation cost you're missing out on there. Mm-hmm. You can also say that with Kadeem Carey, because he's only 56 and he was dominant last week. Like, he didn't put up a billion points, but anybody who watched that could see the potential.
100%. He easily could have gone for another touchdown.
Easily, yeah.
Again, I said even towards the end of the game, I said if he's under 6K, I'm playing him and not really thinking twice about it. So 56 for Kadeem, definitely on him. Terry Williams, he could still get some carries out of that backfield, just because, I mean, Kadeem Carey's a pretty big dude, so if he's tired or whatever, and obviously Terry Williams returns kicks as well, so you get the kick return yards at 4,000. Although if Sean Thomas Erlington is confirmed out, I saw today he didn't practice, but did they officially put him on the sixth game as well?
I think I saw it from. I've got the article actually here. This is from Global News. Rick Zamprin. Tiger Cats will miss Thomas Erlington, but it's next man up. Yes, he is officially on the 6-game injured list.
Okay, not that I would have expected him to play even if they hadn't done that yet. You knew it was a matter of time, but there's no real reason to play Terry Williams over Anthony Coombs. But Malik Irons, your boy, maybe.
You know what? I think that he will get carries this week. I'm almost kind of disappointed Anthony Coombs is on the Ticats, because he's once again been someone who's been under the radar for quite some time due to injury. So this means that Malik is obviously not getting an opportunity, and he obviously started for 3 years at Ohio. So I think he could be a play in the next little bit, depending on if Coombs is slowed down, or if this goes like the rest of Coombs' career has gone and he gets hurt. But yeah, don't play him.
No Malik Irons for the DFS.
Do not play him this week.
Wideouts. Brandon Banks is obviously the highest priced guy on the board. You could pair him with Jeremiah Mazzoli. There's not a ton of merit behind it other than, just to be different and fill the salary cap. Nick Arbuckle spread the ball around so well last week. I think Markeith Ambles was his leading target, and he had 5 targets. Who's that rookie they have? Klukas or whatever? He had 4.
Yeah, Klukas.
That's how well he's spreading the ball around, though, right? Like, guys are getting 4 or 5 targets. There's no target monster in this Calgary receiving core to pair with Nick Arbuckle. So as much as I, think it's a decent matchup, your guess as to which one's going to catch that, long bomb is quite frankly as good as mine, especially because I think after his long bomb last week, Reggie Bagleton is questionable. I think it's him or Jawan Breskison. I have to double check that. But either way, there's no real merit to playing anybody in this Calgary receiving core at the prices they are at. But there could be merit to playing either defense or special teams in this game, honestly. They're both under 5K, and usually these are defenses that you will see priced higher up. And if Calgary can do anything close to what they did last week, it could be a real big game for their defense special teams again, especially with Trey Roberson, fucking freak of nature, just a ball magnet. God, that guy's impressive.
Yes. He has been absolutely insane. What was it that the Calgary receiver was saying? Just don't throw to him.
Just don't. No.
Yeah. He was like, you just can't throw to him.
Or what was it? Yeah, he's like, why is he still throwing his way after his second interception, 5th of the season?
He won't be in the CFL very long.
No. All right, guys, that is a wrap for the game-by-game breakdown. English. Let's jump into the 3 segments to wrap up the end of the show, starting with the John's Jewels versus the McPicks. John's Jewels improved to 4-0 last week with the score of 140. God, let's hope we can keep riding this heater this week. So let's kick it off.
How the fuck did you pull a 140 out? Honestly.
William Stanback. I didn't have Madu in that lineup. I think I did, actually. You did have Madu. 140, Stanback. Oh, I had Lamar Durant as well. Durant put up 30. So Stanback, and I had Mazzoli. So 28, 45, and 30 really did most of the legwork to getting me up to who was the other guy? Oh, right. I played Dominique Rhymes as well. I remember I had KD Cannon, who got scratched, and Andrew Harris written down. I switched to those 2 guys last minute. So Dominique Rhymes had a solid game. William Stanback had a solid game. And then, just the rest of the lineup did its job. So hopefully we can keep that going this week. Let's start it off then with the... All right, guys. So at quarterback this week, I'm rocking Trevor Harris, barring an egregious error in the line. And honestly, even if Edmonton are underdogs, I'd hammer that. Running back 1 spot for me is going to be Andrew Harris. Wide receiver 1, I'm pairing Ellingson with Trevor Harris, and I'm also going to Ricky Collins Jr. And I can see myself pivoting off Collins Jr. to Dominique Rhymes, if I'm being honest, because of the fact that, like Rob said, it seems like it's one or the other with these guys, and especially with Kenny Stafford. He's not kind of going away, so there's a few mouths to feed here, but these are his top 2 targets. And then my 2 flexes, I'm going with the value running backs from Calgary and Hamilton in Kadeem Carey and Anthony Coombs, and bringing it all together with the Winnipeg defense at 4,600. All right, let's hear the
McPicks.
All right, so I have Trevor Harris as well. I also have Andrew Harris, so we both have the 2 Harrises. I also have Ellingson. However, very creative. As where we do switch it up though is with our flex positions, where instead of going for 2 kind of value running backs, I have Coombs, but I also have Gable. And the way I'm making room for Gable is I'm actually playing Katoy at only 3,000. And, I have a feeling that even if Katoy doesn't put up like 10 points, that I'll make up for it in other spots. And we have the same defense with the Winnipeg D.
Very, very creative stuff from both of us this week.
Yeah, definitely not chalky.
All right, that brings us to the Price is Right. Kadeem Carey, come on down. Mr. NFL himself, 5,600. If he's, I don't know. Like I said, under 6K, that's not really a decision anymore. It's that you're playing him at 5,600 in this offense with the way that he will be used. And, that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it.
I like that. For me, it is Coombs for my Price is Right pick. Good price, 4,200. Ironically, the same beginning price of Sean Thomas Erlington in week 1.
Foreshadowing?
Fitting? Yeah, foreshadowing? A coincidence? I think not. So that's I have Coombs. And or potentially, because I wasn't sure exactly who would be starting, or Malik Irons, who's only 34. So if he ends up...
No.
Yeah, no, I don't think you should play him, but if the depth chart comes out and he's starting...
Yeah,
then play him at 34.
Yeah, it's the same thing as if Hamilton or if Edmonton are underdogs in BC.
Yeah, no, totally. It's exactly like that.
It's just not going to happen. But
Probably
let's
not.
get to the lock of the week. Lock of the week for me this week. Honestly, we have the same one. It's Andrew Harris.
Yeah, we'll just do it together. It's Andrew Harris.
To be different, though, I mean, I'm saying Kadeem Carey's my number 2, and it's obvious how high I've been on him, throughout the pod. So if if I'm saying a second one,
he's been very good. Yeah.
And last week I gave a second lock of the week again to be different, and it was Lamar Durant who went for 30. So hopefully Kadeem Carey can go for 30 this week as well. No gambling lock of the week. Last week my picks went 1 and 2, but the one we did win was the lock of the week, so that made up for it. Straight winner in a game that you think will have a close spread. I guess that's what we'll do for now. Obviously, we'll tweet out our locks of the week once the line comes out.
You want a close spread though?
Yeah.
I think Ottawa beats Montreal in a closer game than we were all expecting.
Ooh. So you think Montreal will cover whatever spread is given?
Yes. I obviously haven't seen the spread yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if Montreal covers it. They've been playing better. They're improving.
Honestly, it's weird. I was going to say the same thing, but I was going to double down and say Montreal wins and goes to...
Ooh, that's hot.
Back-to-back wins for the Alouettes. I feel like that is a little
if
caliente.
That does happen... Oh, very caliente. If that does happen, does Pipkin come back and have a starting job?
No, God, no. No.
I like Pipkin. You're not as high on Pipkin as I am.
No, it's not that I have anything against him, but it's just like if a guy wins you 2 games and the other guy hadn't yet.
Oh my God, the bar is so low.
The bar is the ground in Montreal.
This guy won us 2 games. Oh my God.
It's tough. It's like what happened with Johnny Manziel last year, right? He got injured, and then they're like, yeah, no, this is Antonio Pipkin's team now. So I don't know. Same thing could happen to Pipkin. We'll see. But I guess, yeah, I'll stick with that one. I mean, I guess a secondary one where I think the spread will be close is that Hamilton could beat Calgary at home, but I feel like Hamilton would be favored. So if Hamilton aren't...
I think Hamilton is favorite, but it also wouldn't shock me if Calgary wins. Like, I really think that's going to be a shootout.
Interesting. Hopefully it is for the sake of the running backs in that one, but we'll see how it all shakes out for the rest of the week. Guys, that is all we got for this week. Rob, actually, is there anything else you have for this week? No? Okay, let's wrap it up there then. Guys, if you are listening to this podcast on SoundCloud, it is also available on iTunes, Google Play Store, YouTube. YouTube, again, the very cool animation courtesy of our editor, Lonas. Very, very good stuff. Go check it out on whatever your preferred platform is. Give it a thumbs up, a rating, whatever the case may be. That would be super. Greatly appreciated. If you have questions before lock, feel free to reach out to either Rob or I on Twitter. We're always happy to answer questions regarding, CFL DFS bets or, just DFS picks in general. So go check that out.
Relationships.
Yeah, if you have questions about that, I mean, shit, I have a lot of free time on my hands. So.
Hey, so do I. Yep.
All right. Yeah, that's all we got for this week. Take care and best of luck this weekend. Talk to you next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.